All right, it's that time once again, your weekly reminder that kickers are people too. Here are my fantasy football kickers rankings and tiers for week 10. Let's hop on into it. Okay, if you're new here, if you're coming back, first things first, your start them every week, guys. If you have these guys, it really doesn't matter the matchup. They're just too good, too reliable. You just kind of play them, let it ride, or start them every week. Okay, your start them every week, guys. Harrison Butker of the Kansas City Chiefs, Ka'im Fairbairn of the Houston Texans, Younghoe Koo of the Atlanta Falcons, Brandon Aubrey of the Dallas Cowboys, and Austin Seibert of the Washington Commanders. If you got these five guys, just plug them in there, play them, set it and forget it. Maybe they won't have the best week, but more likely than not, you're going to be happy with their production each and every week. All right, first up, Steelers kicker Chris Boswell coming off a bye. They're going to be at the Washington Commanders this week. And Boswell's been really good this year, and now the offense has kind of exploded in Pittsburgh with Russell Wilson at quarterback. And Washington defense has been kind of hit and miss. They've given up some yards, they've been giving up some points, but not a whole lot of points, a lot of red zone stops. So that's why I'm loving Chris Boswell this week. Pair that with the red zone where Russell Wilson has struggled a little bit for Pittsburgh. I think we're going to see some field goals in this game. They got to keep up pace. A lot of field goals in this game between these two kickers. So great matchup for Boswell this week. Another matchup I love this week, Tyler Bass of the Buffalo Bills. Throw him in the love category. Bills going to the Indianapolis Colts, and the Colts defense hasn't been great, man. You know, they did okay in the first half against Minnesota, had some crucial red zone turnovers, but 21 unanswered in the second half. I think Buffalo is going to score a ton of points against this defense, move the football, and we're indoors in Indianapolis, very friendly kicking conditions, and we've seen Buffalo struggle sometimes in the red area. I mean, they didn't really do anything in the first half, and Bass is coming off that big 61-yard game winner outside in Buffalo. So now they're going to trust Bass a little bit more to kick some of those longer field goals. So I love this matchup for Tyler Bass this week. All right, our fallen hero, Justin Tucker, used to be a start every week, but he's just been too inconsistent, too unreliable. I think he's a good start this week. I flirt a little bit with the love matchup, but Thursday night games are so weird. Big high-scoring affair the first time between the Bengals and the Ravens, so we could see a repeat of that. The game is in Baltimore, so not the best kicking conditions, especially at night. Usually gets kind of windy and cold there in that stadium, just kind of weird all around. And Tucker's been a little bit off this week, so I think you can start Justin Tucker just because the Bengals defense isn't very good most of the time, and the Ravens offense is arguably the second best in football. So there's opportunities there. I just don't want to oversell Tucker because he just has been way too inconsistent for us this year. Okay, my man Chad Ryland, he's been kind of nails for the Arizona Cardinals this year. 3-game winners, I believe. I'm going to put him in the if you have to this week. It's just not a great matchup. Playing the New York Jets. Jets had 10 days off, and they looked much better against the Houston Texans last Thursday. And the Cardinals have had this kind of thing where they can struggle sometimes offensively, and they just also can get into grooves where they just score touchdowns, they forego field goals, they get aggressive. So I'm going to put Ryland in the if you have to category. I don't think he has a very high ceiling this week. He is at home though, so that does help a little bit. It's better than kicking out at MetLife. So yeah, that's okay for me. But Ryland, I just think is going to have limited opportunities this week against a pretty good Jets defense and a Cardinals offense that is getting very aggressive these days and are scoring more touchdowns than kicking field goals. So Ryland, if you have to, but if you get bonus points for like a game-winning kick, I love Ryland that way. So yeah, Ryland and if you have to this week. All right, Jake the Snake Elliott of the Philadelphia Eagles. Throw this man in the love matchup. Elliott has been one of the best kickers in the league the last few years, but we have goofball Sirianni who passes up extra points, passes up field goals, almost cost the Eagles the game last week. I don't think he's going to do it this week. Pair that with they're going to Dallas. They're playing indoors against a Dallas team that doesn't have their starting quarterback, and their defense has been dreadful this year. They can't stop the run. They really can't stop the pass either, so I think the Eagles are going to be moving the ball up and down the field on them. And goofball Sirianni is going to take his kicks this week. It got way too close last week. Just take the points. We're going to get field goals. We're going to get extra points for Jake Elliott. That's probably the biggest concern with him is there's such a variable with the head coaching position because Elliott doesn't miss these kicks. He's pretty reliable overall, but I think it's just too good of a matchup this week. I love me some Jake Elliott. All right, Jason Sanders of the Miami Dolphins. I'm going to put him in the fine to start category. The Rams defense has been getting better the last few weeks, but still nothing crazy. A lot of red zone turnovers for the Seahawks. Otherwise, they would have had a much higher scoring chance. And the offense for Miami looked a lot better against Buffalo last week. And that's a defense they've struggled with mightily. They moved the ball up and down the field. They scored some points. So I think that's a positive sign if you have some Dolphins players and the Dolphins kicker in particular. It's indoors Monday night against the Rams. We could see some red zone stops here because the Rams defense has been good in the red area the last 2 weeks. Let's see what we get out of them, but I think it's a fine start. You don't have to make any drastic moves. But if you want to go and attack a better matchup, I think that's okay. But yeah, he's a fine start. Just be tempered on your expectations for a super high ceiling. Probably just an average week for him and the Dolphins. All right, Evan Money McPherson, another fine start, Thursday night game. You know, he's kind of fallen off also like Tucker, used to be an automatic start, but he's just been a little too inconsistent this year. And so is the Bengals offense. When the Bengals offense is humming, they can put up a ton of points. But we've seen some games now where they have been, kind of stagnant, not really done anything, 17, 10 points overall. But the last time they played Baltimore, it was a shootout. Thursday night games are weird, but it is two division teams. I'm expecting probably another relatively high scoring affair, but like I said, nighttime in Baltimore, not the best kicking conditions, most likely. My only concern is if the Bengals offense do somehow get stymied against this terrible secondary of the Baltimore Ravens, who looked a lot better against Denver. But I think you can just roll with Money McPherson. You'll probably be fine. And he's not a guy I really want to cut. He's just kind of pretty consistent for me, and I don't want to take a huge risk if I have him at the kicker position. So just roll him out there. You'll be fine. Thursday night games are always weird, though, so be a little bit warned. All right, how about Cam Little of the Jacksonville Jaguars? I'm going to put Cam here in the if you have to. Now, the Minnesota defense had been reeling the last few weeks, but a big step up against the Indianapolis Colts. They really shut them down, but the Vikings offense turning it over set up some points for them, so you ended up having a couple of field goals given up. But the Jaguars, man, the Jaguars just do way too many stupid things, and we also now have a question mark at quarterback with Trevor Lawrence. Has a little bit of a shoulder injury. Are we going to see Mac Jones? Possibly. And outdoors in Jacksonville with that Vikings defense, it's been hard to move the football against them for most of the time, and they shut down the running game very well. So I'm going to say if you have to play Cam Little, you can, but I wouldn't recommend it. Just Vikings have had some weird mojo with kickers this year. Also, we've seen guys miss a lot of kicks against this team. So if you don't have anybody out there to pick up, you don't want to necessarily make a move, I'm okay with it, but it's not a guy I would wholly recommend. All right, Jake Bates against the Houston Texans. Yeah, love this matchup here. It's going to be a Sunday night game, but the Lions offense has just been so good, man. They move the football like nobody's business. They do tend to go for the touchdowns more than taking the points, but out of conference road game, kind of a bigger showdown. Houston's defense does a good job of getting after the passer, but they do give up a lot of yards here. I think we're going to be a little less aggressive than we saw last week in Green Bay. They're just going to go ahead, take their field goals, kick their extra points, not necessarily take those risks trying to outdo themselves because the Texans are a little bit undermanned. You don't want to give the opposing team any sort of momentum and passing up points when you don't necessarily need to score that much. So I really like this matchup for Jake Bates, and he just makes his kicks also. He's been super consistent all year. I don't think he's missed a kick the entire year. So Jake Bates, loving this matchup. All right, Blake Grupe, I'm going to put him in the if you have to. The Saints, man, I don't know. Not the worst matchup in the world. The Falcons defense isn't anything spectacular, but the New Orleans Saints, man, are just a terrible team. The offense is kind of all over the place. They find ways to lose games. Plus, you pair that with just like massive turnover, new head coach. I don't know if they're going to get any jazz or juice from that. So if you want to play Grupe, I think you can if you have to. He's been really good this season, though, so you don't necessarily want to cut a guy like that. But I just think there's way too many question marks with this New Orleans Saints team, so I'm going to plug him in the if you have to this week. Okay, Chase McLaughlin playing the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to put Chase in the if you have to category again. You know what? We're going to bump him up. We're going to bump him up to the fine to start. Tampa Bay actually moved the ball relatively well against the Kansas City Chiefs. They go ahead and get that last drive to tie the game. And San Francisco is kind of a weird team. They are playing, in Tampa Bay. They're coming off a bye, so they're going west to east. The defense hasn't been necessarily anything crazy. Now, Christian McCaffrey is going to be back. Maybe we see a lot more time of possession for the 49ers. But McLaughlin's been really, really good this year. He's been kind of the best part of this Buccaneers team the last few weeks after they lost those wide receivers. He's making those big kicks for us. So yeah, let's start McLaughlin if you're okay with it, if you don't want to take any more risks, because I was actually kind of happy with what I saw from Tampa Bay offensively, moving the football against a very good Chiefs defense. I don't see why they're going to struggle, and maybe it's beneficial. They struggle in the red areas, they take those field goals. So McLaughlin, he's just been really, really good this year. Okay, our first bench this season, throw Will Lutz in the bench category. I just think this is a bad matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. We saw the Denver Broncos offense play a real defense, and not even necessarily a real defense in Baltimore, because that secondary isn't great, and they couldn't do anything. They couldn't do anything. Now, Chiefs coming off a short week, they did play on Monday night, divisional game. I just don't trust this Broncos offense to move the football. And they're going to have to score touchdowns. They know they're going to have to score touchdowns, so Sean Payton could get very aggressive in this game, settling not for field goals, but deciding to go for it on fourth downs. So I don't want to play Will Lutz this week. I think he's a safe bench. Okay, Giants kicker, my man McAtamney. I don't know, man. The Giants have had like 4 kickers this year. I'm going to say if you have to, the only reason is if you're in a pinch, you have another kicker, one of the kickers on bye, you don't want to drop them. I mean, you can play him if you want. They are playing the Carolina Panthers in Germany, so another weird kind of set of circumstances in that game. But the Panthers defense has been absolutely terrible this year. And the Giants did move the ball in the second half against the Commanders a little bit, so maybe we're going to have some opportunities to kick some field goals. And it is international. They do love the soccer. They do love the kicking, so we might see some more field goal fun there. But if you're in a real pinch, I think this is a good sleeper guy out there where if you don't want to cut somebody, there's not really a whole lot out there. Pick him up, take the risk. You need some bonus points potentially. He could have a high day against this bad Panthers defense, but I think that's just a wide margin out there. Not comfortable for me, but if you want to gamble and take the risk, here's a great dark horse guy. All right, Josh Karty of the LA Rams. Let's put him in the fine to start playing the Dolphins on Monday night. The Rams offense has been much better the last few weeks. They've been moving the ball. You got Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua back. You pair that with Kyron Williams, and the Dolphins defense kind of has been hit or miss, and it's been a lot more miss than hits as of late for them. Plus, the Dolphins offense is going to have more control of the ball. So I think we're going to see a little less opportunity for the Rams to go out there and score touchdowns. I think we're going to have to see them maybe move the ball a little bit, take your field goals, don't get too aggressive. That's the things I kind of like to see. I think it's a fine start this week, especially if you want to invest in this Rams offense, who is going to be so much better than what they were earlier in the season. They've been really consistent the last few weeks. So I'm fine with starting Karty here if you don't want to make any sort of crazy moves this week. His name is Dicker. He is a kicker, Cameron Dicker of the Los Angeles Chargers. Throw him in that matchup. They're playing the Titans in LA this weekend. That's a great setup for him. He should be having a big game. The Chargers offense has really come alive the last few weeks. We've seen Justin Herbert throw the ball, running it well with J.K. Dobbins, an elite defense shutting teams down. And the Titans defense isn't horrible. It's pretty good on some defensive metrics there. So they might be able to get those stops in the red area, and Jim Harbaugh will kick field goals. Jim Harbaugh is not an aggressive coach. He takes his points when he gets them. So I love Dicker this week. He's been really consistent most of the year. He's had a couple of misses there, but it's just such great opportunity this week for them. A lot of field goal chances. I think he kicks 3 or 4 this week. I'm going to go out on a limb. Big fan of my man, Cameron Dicker. All right, and if you're rocking with Dicker the kicker this week, head on over to Underdog. Check him out. Cameron Dicker versus the Tennessee Titans, over 1.5 field goals made. I'm loving that line right there. He's been real consistent. I think the Chargers are going to go ahead and take their points against this pretty stingy Titans defense, relatively speaking, for a team that's been as bad as them. But when you head on over to Underdog, sign up using code THECATCH, you're going to get your free pick 'em of the week. Lamar Jackson over half a yard. But don't worry, if you're watching this after Thursday, we have our free pick 'em for Sunday. CJ Stroud over half a total yard. And plus, when you sign up using code THECATCH, you're going to get up to $1,000 deposit match, 50% deposit match, up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That's when you sign up using code THECATCH. Check out the links down below. All right, Joey Slye of the Patriots, just bench him. We just pretty much bench him every week. I don't know why we're doing this, but we got to have it. 25 kickers on the list. Bench them. It's the Patriots. They're playing the Bears. Bears defense has been really, really good relatively to the, they've been pretty good this year. Not the best last week against the Cardinals, but I don't see anything different here for the Patriots. Drake May, still a rookie quarterback. He's been good, but not that good. Let's go ahead and bench Joey Slye. All right, here's my biggest question mark of the week. 49ers kicker Jake Moody, questionable to play. If he does play, I really, really love this matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think Niners are gonna have a great opportunity to move the football, score some points, potentially getting Christian McCaffrey back. We saw this Buccaneers defense do a relatively good job against the Chiefs, but they still give up a ton of passing yards in the secondary. But the problem is he may not play. If you want to risk it, I think it's a great matchup. You can go ahead and play him. Maybe wait till later in the week. But if he doesn't play, you're in bad shape. I think Carlson is the backup there, Anders Carlson. I wouldn't play him necessarily. I don't love that. But if he doesn't play, go ahead and rock with Jake Moody. It's just you got to watch and see. Tough decision here. Okay, Colts kicker Matt Gay. He's been pretty consistent all year, but missed a 50-yarder on Sunday night against the Vikings. I think he's a fine to start guy. If you just want to keep rolling with him, the Flacco offense under the Colts should be a little bit better. They're playing Buffalo. Buffalo's defense did give up some yards last week against Miami, and they have given up some yards in some games this season, particularly on the ground, and the Colts running the football has been their best sort of offense. So if the Colts can establish a run game, maybe get stopped in the red area, Matt Gay, pretty good there. Games at home, Indianapolis, that helps out a ton. Indoor kicking, so much better than kicking out in Buffalo. I think Matt Gay is a fine guy to start this week. Okay, Jets new kicker Riley Patterson. He's going to replace Greg Zuerlein, and as a tribute to Greg Zuerlein, we're just going to put him in the bench. Don't play him. Don't play Jets kickers. Do not trust Jets kickers. Something bad always seems to happen with Jets kickers. We're going to keep the tradition going here with another Jets kicker. Throw him in the bench status this week. And finally, Bears kicker Cairo Santos. I'm going to put him in the if you have to. He was looking really good in the last few weeks in the middle of the season there, especially even against Washington. It was looking like there was potential, but the Bears offense is just kind of falling apart lately. They aren't moving the football whatsoever. Now, there are potential opportunities there if the Bears can move it against a mediocre Patriots defense, run the football, and they do struggle in the red area, you end up kicking a lot of field goals. But I just don't love this matchup. I don't trust the Bears offense. They're just way too inconsistent. It feels like Matt Eberflus might have lost this locker room. So if you have to start Cairo Santos, if you don't want to cut him, if you still believe in this Bears offense, you can keep him, you can start him, but just be very limited on your expectations this week. All right, that's going to do it for us this week. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you have any kicker questions, drop a comment on this video. I'll be answering them throughout the week. If you haven't already, drop a quick like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of the daily fantasy action we have for you guys. I'm talking your must-start matchups for every single game at running back, quarterback, wide receiver, tight end. Your waiver wire targets are boom and bust players of the week. Guys, you should sneaky start. We got live streams throughout the week answering all of your roster questions. Again, like, subscribe, and share. Check out the links down below, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.